Welcome to our video tutorial. My name is Soji Enigboko, and our topic today, the video tutorial, is about how to find the IP address of a Linux computer, how to locate and identify the IP address, the Internet Protocol address that has been assigned or obtained by your computer's adapter. These IP addresses are used to identify and to allow the devices or computer to be able to communicate on the given network. Once again, I would like you to click the like button and subscribe to our channel should you find this tutorial very useful. Our aim is to always deliver quality nuggets, quality tutorials in order to mentor our learners, our trainers, and also to use as a reference material for those of us who are already working in the IT industry. But please, before we dive into this, what is called an IP address? What is the meaning of this little letter word IP? It is a unique address assigned to computers/devices. I will explain just these two in a few seconds. On a network, in order to identify that device and to allow that device to communicate. So the essence of IP address assignment, or that unique addressing scheme, or that particular set of numbers given to that, is like the street addresses assigned to houses. It is used to uniquely identify that device and essentially to allow that device to communicate. Before now, we've been having the IP version 4, or the Internet Protocol version 4. It allows for broadcast. It has its own challenges, and hence the big boys upstairs, they came up with another set of numbers with which we can communicate and be identified on the network, and they call this IP version 6. Now we have dedicated another video to actually differentiate between these two versions. But the truth is, the newer version is a better edition compared to the previous. So there are issues with IP version 4 that IP version 6 has actually come to address. So right away, do not forget, our aim is to be able to locate these IP addresses, version 4 and version 6. And in doing this, we're going to deploy several command line tools. And in the end, I will give us just one graphic user interface tool for those of us who like to click and just move on. So, again, we're going to deploy command line tools. So straight ahead, we have two kinds of IP addressing options. The addresses that identify devices on the global network called the Internet differs from the ones that can be assigned locally to machines. The ones that can be assigned locally are called private IP addresses. And according to this group, Internet Assign Names and Numbers, IANA, they are responsible for assigning this number. They say, hey, should you want to put a website up there on the internet, should you want to connect a webcam to the internet, you would need a separate kind of IP addressing, though IP version 4, but it is called public IP address. And once again, our aim today, let's not derail, is to find the IP address of a locally assigned addressing scheme. So in this case, we're going to be looking at our local or private IP address. There are other videos within this series that are dedicated to what using the command line to what reveal the public IP addresses of our interface. So without much ado, let's jump in straight to our terminal. What do we need to do? Our first thing we need to do here is to look at these options. The first thing you want to use is to type in Ifconfig, and it reveals your network adapters. By default, all network adapters are capable of receiving and requesting IP address from a server. If it's not done automatically, we can configure these IP addresses manually, meaning we have to get into the network settings and begin to type in. Once again, this is beyond the scope of this video tutorial. But today our aim is let's not forget, is to how to find the IP address of a Linux computer. So I jump into the terminal and I simply type ifconfig. Most guys in the Linux world will call it ifconfig or ifconfig -a. It prints out, number one, let's look at this line. It says inet. Inet means your IP address assigned to different OSs. For Windows will not use inet. Windows will simply say IP address. It means internet address, IP address with which you can communicate. For this machine, it is 192.168.8.102. Why is this so? The IP version 4 addressing scheme is a decimal addressing scheme. This decimal group of numbers are separated by periods or dots. And as such, you see 192.168.8.102. Now, the next one is the subnet mask. Linus calls it net mask. You see 255.255.255.0. 3 255s. This indicates how many fields or how many octets have been assigned for network. In essence, these 3 255s identifies the octets that have been dedicated for network. Right now, all the machines, all the devices on the same network as my PC must bear 192.168.8 identical of all machines. That tells whoever is viewing this that these machines belong to the same network. Hence, we have this. The last octet is now therefore reserved for machines identification. My machine is 102. Another one will be 01, 2, 3, till 254. The last one is 255. Is never assigned. Is a unique reserved address for broadcast. When machines and devices need to communicate amongst themselves, exchanging protocols, exchanging management datagrams, they use this address .255. Once again, on a network, no machine bears the last octet as 255. It is reserved for the network or local area network's broadcast address. Let's jump quickly to the new school IP version 6. See how complex it looks compared to the decimal separated numbers. In this case, it has decimals but some alphabets. So we refer to this alphabet as hexes, hex, H-E-X. So when you combine the hexes with numbers, IP version 6 uses a combination of hexes and decimal. So we call it hexadecimal notation. Separated by what? by colons. This looks a bit longer, but really it can be rewritten for brevity and simplicity. The last thing we want to look at here is the ether. In Windows, it is referred to as the physical address or the MAC address. This MAC address is wired from the manufacturer, binded onto this adapter. Do not forget, this machine has more than one way to communicate with the network, or more than one adapter to communicate or to join a network. In this case, mine has a physical adapter, what usually your RJ45 will connect to. This is the loopback address, which will never go down, refers to the host itself, and it bears this address. But the wireless LAN uses no wire, meaning my wireless adapter opens up its radio and attaches the frequency that correspond to that network. And that technology allows you to connect your computer to a given network without the need of wires. And so it is your wireless LAN. This adapter has a network IP address 192.168.102, IP version 6, FE80, blah 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 blah, to 4BF2. The MAC address is 00:21 and so forth. That is just one way of looking at this. Let's not forget again, we are dealing with how to locate the IP address of a Linux PC. We quickly go to the next command. It's host name. I like this. Host name dash H, capital I. Don't forget, Linux is case sensitive. It reveals my IP address without all of these other options like MAC addresses and all of that. It just prints out the IP address, and again it is the same 192.168.8.102. Another tool I like us to look at, it's the IP route. Actually, it's IP address. Newer Linux flavors are beginning to use these options. It still tells us the link and ether. In this case, it calls it ether. The MAC address is the same as what we saw with ether upstairs. INET is the same, 192.168, blah blah blah. This time without the subnet, but it uses what? The /24, indicating that 255s must be 3, occupying 3 octets. 8 times 3, 24. INET 6, which is the IP address version 6, is the same as what we saw before. Once again, we are trying to look at how to find the IP address of a Linux PC. We have seen 3. Let's look at the 4th one, which is the IP route. IP route simply does this. It prints out your IP address, the IP address of your machine, which is the same as what we've been saying, plus your default gateway, which is highlighted here. Meaning for this machine to communicate with the outside world, for it to get out of this network onto the internet, it would need a default gateway. So besides my usual IP address, this is the IP address of my router or default gateway. I like us to look at one very beautiful one. Let's clear the screen just a bit. It is called NMCLI. For those of us who are new to Linus, all you want to do is do this. And it says, this utility is used to control the network manager. It can also print out the network status. Let's leave this page. We're going to need it now. Take out this. This is how it works. You can type -help for more. I type device and I type show. Enter. It prints out in almost a human-friendly form. The P parameter just says print it out beautifully, nice, pretty, looking good. I have my IP address here. It tells me it's the /24 mask, meaning my subnet mask will be 255.255.255.0. I've got my default gateway. Everything comes up in just on one page. I've got connected to a Wi-Fi. What is that Wi-Fi? This is the name of the Wi-Fi. Using this adapter, wireless LAN 0. This is my MAC address or the Ether address that we've seen so far. So guys, in conclusion, I would like us to go back to why we're here. We have seen 4 command line utilities. The last one I'd like to show us is the graphic user interface utility, which everyone would love to do. For those of us who are not so, comfortable with the terminal, we can just go straight to the connection. Right click, edit connections. For Ubuntu, the same. Double click the Wi-Fi you are connected to, or the SSID. It says you are connected to the SSID, blah blah blah. You blah, like this, like that, and like that. Look at this WLAN 0 and all of that. Wi-Fi security, if you want to reveal that, you'll see that there. Proxy. Now, what interests us most is the IP address. How are you getting the IP? It says automatic, meaning it is given via a server. You do not need to do anything. Your machine will communicate with the server and it will get an IP address automatically. And that's what we have seen using the command line. So in conclusion, we said that we're going to run through this quickly. An IP address is a unique address assigned to devices or computers on a network that allows us to identify them and allows the machines to communicate. The tools we have used so far, we use the Ifconfig or Ifconfig, as many will call it, -A. It will print out the IP address of your computer. It will print out the MAC address or the Ether address, and it will also print out both the IP version 4 and IP version 6. The IP address is pretty new. It will print out the same. Hostname will, with this parameter, capital I, will just print the IP address. IP route will print both your default gateway and your own IP address. And the one that is pretty good for everyone is the MMCLI. This will pretty much print out what a human readable IP settings of your computers. Please, once again, I would like to remind us, if you find this very interesting and useful, please leave a comment. Also click the like and subscription button. Thank you. I hope you have enjoyed this video tutorial. Thank you.